it's awesome atmosphere. I think certainly in this conference, even when we were back in Western Athletic Conference, I remember those days of it's everything you want it to be. You sign to Boise State, you want to play in those big time environments. Obviously, there's nobody better than our fans. You've seen it this year. The advantage that we have when we play at home, but it's a tremendous experience, and we're excited for it.
Everybody talks about the walk to the field. You got to go through the fans. I mean, do you remember catching some hate, some shade during that walk?
Yeah, I think so. I think everywhere you go, they kind of say, "Hey, will you be smart here? Make sure you got guys with you." And you're like, "Yeah, okay." But this one is for real, for real. So I just remember those days of going down that hill, never really knowing who's a security guard, who's kind of not, and again, it all leads to just a great atmosphere.
What's this rivalry mean to you guys? I mean, obviously, you guys are always fighting for the Mountain West title, or back in the day, the Western Athletic Conference title. What's this rivalry meant to you?
Yeah, I think it means a lot. I think you look at the history of both these teams and the success they've had in a lot of ways for putting this conference on the map. I think it's, as you know, the teams that you're probably the most similar to are the ones you maybe butt heads the most with, but just a tremendous amount of respect for the staff. I was fortunate enough to work with Jeff Tedford in 2016. Has meant a lot to me. Jethro Franklin's a guy I worked with at Missouri. Known Pat McCann for a long time, so a lot of respect for this staff, know how good a job they've done, and we're excited for the opportunity.
Coach, how proud are you of what Maddox Madsen is doing right now? And what stands out to him, Monday through Friday, that puts himself in the position to go do what he does on Saturday?
Yeah, I think you guys asked it last week. You talk about that preparation, and some guys when they come into college, maybe you have to catch them up to speed of what it needs to look like, and then there's other guys just understand it. And I think a lot of times it comes from that situation when your dad's a coach, which his dad is, and he knows what that looks like, from how to prepare, how to do enough, get the information, but not make it too much, if you will. And he's done a tremendous job in preparing himself.
Obviously, when the bullets are flying or whatever, you learn a lot about your players. So what have you learned about Maddox? And I think for me, like one of the most impressive plays was right before the touchdown. He took off and he took a really big lick, and then he kind of comes back and hangs in the pocket and delivers that ball where it needs to be. So what have you kind of learned about Maddox in the heat of the battle that's allowing you to find a rhythm and consistency with him? Yeah,
I think just how resilient he is. Here's a guy that you just got to know during the week probably takes about 25% of the practice reps, and so we've kind of all been there, when you're maybe in that role. So I just can't speak to how proud I am of him. Again, he's not taking every rep, at practice, and for him to go in there and play the way he does and be as efficient as he does speaks volumes about his game.
In terms of the two quarterbacks, I think we started to see your vision on Saturday night. It looked way more successful than it had been. Is that kind of how you envision this thing working?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think I felt pretty good about it versus San Jose State, and so I just think, again, it just comes back to the execution piece. I think, when we've completely been in on the two quarterback thing, I think starting San Jose State, I thought it went pretty well. We thought it went good against Wyoming. Could have played better versus Colorado State. And I think, again, it's the balance, okay, the rhythm thing. Is it the rhythm thing? Is it the execution piece? Certainly the rhythm of playing two guys isn't going to be as good as one guy, but there's been a lot of statistics as well that we've improved in. So it's that give or take of what are you willing to sacrifice.
In terms of Maddox, and in the second half, he's obviously getting a majority of the reps. What is it about Maddox in the second half that you trust more over Taylor?
I don't think there's any, one thing or another. I think the reality of the situation is we go into the games in our minds saying, yeah, it could go either way. And I think both those guys understand that. This is big time football, and they know that. And somebody's going to have the hot hand. Somebody's going to take care of the football. The thing I'm so proud about with each guy is we've needed each guy in those situations, maybe when more of the reps have gone to the other guy to come step in and make plays. And I think that's the thing about both these quarterbacks from an attitude standpoint that's allowed them to truly be leaders on this team, is even when things maybe not going exactly how they want them to, TG's come in when we really needed him to go and make critical plays in the red zone. Maddox came in against Memphis and played really well when he hadn't been out there for a while. So those are just two guys that I think are willing to do whatever it takes for this football team, and I really commend them for that.
Do you explore the possibility of Maddox starting?
I think we're certainly competing, every day at practice, and again, I just think I think the beautiful thing about both these guys, and I know I've mentioned this, is they're not one-dimensional. I think TG's 9 ball that he threw on the left side there was probably as good a ball as I've seen in a long time. I don't know if Eric even got his second hand up to make that play. So you just look at the things that he can do. Again, we just want to settle him in, get him playing as confident as he can be. Maddox has obviously done some good things, but I do think both of those guys complement each other very well.
It is 3 games in a row where I think Maddox ended up with more snaps, but you kind of alluded to it. How much of that was the fumble that Taylor had to kind of change things there?
Yeah, I think, look, we've certainly had our issues with turnovers, right, in the last 3 or 4 games, and I think as a play caller, you got to do a great job in not being extremely emotional. I think when we scored on that first drive, we take it all the way down to, I think, the 15-yard line. We're the only ones stopping ourselves, and we lose that ball. There was probably a little bit of an emotional response to that. And but with that being said, again, I really felt like when Maddox got in there, you guys know what it is. I think it was like 12 of 15 throwing it wise. One of them was the incompletion to Eric on 3rd down. One was a poor call on my part. That was a throwaway. So when you start looking at those numbers, I thought he did a nice job of deserving to stay in there.
Talk to Andy about Parisi's growth a little bit, and he's mentioned he does little things like he's learning more about quarterback protection. What have you seen from him, and just how has he grown his game since since the season started, really?
Yeah, I always think with a young guy, it just comes back to who he is as a person. And here's a guy that is an extremely talented high school prospect. He humbles himself when he gets to college, and he knows he's got guys like George and Ash in the room. And I'll be honest with you, Tyler Crow's a guy that's been here for a long time and has done a tremendous job in the preparation process. So I go back to those things saying when you come in as a freshman with an open heart and open ears and you're willing to take in all that coaching, whether it's from Jimmy Montgomery or whether it's from the guys in your room, it leads to this kind of maturity.
Bush, when you self-scout yourself, with everything you've had to work with this year, the quarterbacks, the injuries, what type of job do you think you're doing with this offense?
We're just, that's always a hard one. You guys are always asking me, how's this player doing? How's that player doing? We're just trying to stay focused. I'm not trying to give you a cliche line. I think it's been an up and down with what you said, right? We haven't necessarily had a game where both the backs have necessarily been rolling. Certainly the quarterback thing has been unique. I think that's one thing that we love about this profession is no year, no week, no game is ever the same. And so I am proud of my offensive staff. I think there's been a lot of different movement. There's going to be a lot of different movement this week as well. And that's what you got to do to do whatever you can to go win football games.
Whether it's 3rd down or 4th down, Maddox has converted a lot of big plays for you guys this year. Especially for a guy that's not playing every down. What does it take for a guy to come off the sideline and be successful in a big spot like that?
I think it takes a lot. I'm not sure how many quarterbacks have been in that situation. Certainly, again, I've alluded to the practice reps, right? Like there's times where he's out there maybe being asked to do some things where he didn't get that exact look. But again, he prepares the way he needs to prepare. This is not just something that's week 7 and now he's in that position. And ever since I've been here, he's prepared like a starter, and it's important to him. And I think it's a testament to his hard work.
I assume you didn't plan for 23 touches for George in that game, but to have a guy like that ready, I know the timing just worked out perfect for you guys, but to have him back and be able to step in and do that, and who knows, moving forward what Ashton's status is, but just to have a guy like that, a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher that you guys can lean to, I assume there's not a lot of teams that have that kind of luxury.
Yeah, and I think you guys know George. He doesn't say a whole lot, but there's very few players that have come through here that are as impressive as him. And I just, in my mind, I think about, okay, you have that injury, you miss about 5 weeks. Like, he certainly wasn't at home playing video games during those 5 weeks, even though he knew it was going to be a little bit of a recovery process. So, did he surprise me? He did. I think, again, for him to go out there and we had a plan in place to, if you will, get him back in the mix, get him a couple touches to feel what it felt like again, But for him to go out there and make the plays he did, I mean, that's just it speaks to a guy that handles himself like a pro.
Maybe you just kind of answered that, but when talked to on the Blue before the season started, I asked you who the guy on offense is that is the epitome of a Bronco, and you said it was George Jelani. Why is that? And at what point in time did you guys realize like you were gonna have to go with him on Saturday? The pitch count was out the window.
Oh, man, early. You know, I think there were some things maybe bugging Ash even leading up to that game, and I just felt, you know, probably it was about that first drive where him and I got on the phone, and he was like, "Hey, I'm not feeling like my normal self." To the question of George and what epitomizes it, I just think his, you know, he's one of those guys whose actions have just always spoken so loud. You know, he doesn't say a whole lot, but it's a professional approach. It's that blue collar mentality. I think certainly when he even just got back to practicing with the offense, it's like everybody else took their level of play up. You know, I think it's a guy that understands the importance of practice execution equals game day reality. He understands taking care of the football, and so I just, you know, that's one of those guys you'll take year in and year out, every day of the week. So.
Caden Dudley also got some carries over last week. Was that a product of Ashton going out, or is he a guy that you guys are trying to figure out how to get the ball in his hands more?
Yeah, I think he is. You know, I think he's certainly, from an explosive standpoint, can make guys miss, can be a guy that can play the whole width of the field, if you will. And so we're excited about his role continuing to build. He's done a great job working towards that, and we're going to continue to look for opportunities for him.
Sometimes you guys have players that are so consistent, they become great, and their consistency makes us free to ask you about them. Eric McAllister, once again, $160 through the air, 7 catches. What is it like having a receiver at your disposal that just has average 5 catches a game, who's actually over 20 yards to catch? I mean, that is pretty rare in college football to have somebody like that.
Yeah, Eric's done a great job, you know, and it's a little bit of that mixture of, you guys know it, I mean, you see it week in and week out, right? You can mix the run game and get people to come down in the box and play the run, and then you've got the opportunities where if they're in man situations, they certainly got to account for Eric on the edge. And he's done a tremendous job of not just creating separation, but making tough plays with a guy in his face. And just super proud of Eric. You know, Eric is maybe not, when he got to college, he wasn't like maybe a guy like Maddox or maybe a guy like George. You know, he certainly took some time, you know what I mean, to learn the ropes, if you will. But his focus has been tremendous. The conversations with him during games have just been really, really impressive. So.
Along those same lines, Prince gets his first touchdown. I know he's been in and out of the lineup some this year, but what did you see out of him in the past week that made you comfortable putting him out there?
Yeah, I think Prince deserves to be out there. And again, you know, he's just got to continue to, if you will, a lot of times when you're playing a freshman, you want them to be a junior, you know, and the talent level is certainly there. As we know in this conference, it's going to take every single rep playing with that kind of physicality, and a lot of times it just takes making a play like that to you know, make you come to light and go, hey, I got this, you know. And so I was fired up. My eyes were on the right side. I had thought Eric had won on the route. I thought Maddox should have gone there. Maddox came backside, and I saw the catch, and just can't tell you how excited I was that it was Prince, because that's a big one for a young guy that it'll make a huge difference for him.
All right, thank you all.
Appreciate you guys.